if you ever ran for president, you'd win. This is Whoopi Goldberg. You don't hear that? She said, I'm making a movie. Would you be in it? I said, in what capacity? Just a walk-on. You're so great. Would you do I did a walk-on for Whoopi Goldberg. Now she says, I refuse to mention his name. You know what? Politics can do strange things to demented people.
You know who was ranting on social media that no one wants to see that on his inauguration day? Sir, this was one of our presidents.
The feud between Whoopi Goldberg and Karoline Leavitt is heating up into a full-blown media war, and Whoopi just poured gasoline on the fire. Her latest move triggered a total meltdown from the White House press secretary. If you know Karoline Leavitt, you know she never holds back. This time, she came out swinging with a blow that left Whoopi Goldberg figuratively scorched. But what did Whoopi do to set off Leavitt's savage response? And just how brutal was the press secretary's counterattack? Brace yourself, this showdown is packed with drama, controversy, and reactions from big names like Bill Maher, Joe Rogan, and Megyn Kelly. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment.
Listen, take him seriously and take him literally.
I don't think that we have to. I think it would be remiss of us to not say Joe Biden knows how to do this.
Yes,
he knows how to do this. He's quite good at this, and you know you can't refute anything with him because he just. When I say him, I mean
he rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just.
But can I mention one thing?
Before we dive into the madness, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Trust me, this story is only gonna get crazier. Now, let's get straight to it. No fluff, no filler, just the raw, unfiltered truth. For years, Whoopi Goldberg has treated Donald Trump's name like it's cursed. On The View, she'd twist, dodge, and dance around saying it, like just uttering it would summon chaos. No matter how heated debates got, she never said it outright. It was as if his name could turn her to stone then. The slip heard round the internet happened. In a moment so ironic it felt scripted, Whoopi finally let Trump's name escape, live on air. Maybe it was muscle memory, maybe a rare lapse, but the second she said it, her face froze in horror. Like she'd unleashed a political demon. And then, classic Whoopi, she spat on the floor, right there on TV, as if trying to physically purge the shock of acknowledging the former president. This wasn't just a reaction, it was a meltdown for the ages, and trust me, you've got to see it to believe it.
Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality.
The moment that glob of spit hit the floor, outrage came flooding in from every corner. Viewers were furious, with backlash pouring in like a dam bursting open. Social media erupted as people lined up to call out Whoopi for what many considered one of the most disrespectful moments ever witnessed on live TV. Some even went as far as calling it a new low, blasting her not only for disrespecting Trump, but for spitting on the dignity of the presidency itself. One enraged viewer didn't hold back, posting, "Whoopi spitting is disgraceful, and so is the gang that laughs about it. Cancel this leftist propaganda show now." Another fired back with, "I do the same thing when I see her pop up on my news feed." But perhaps the most brutal response came from those who saw Whoopi's stunt as a direct slap in the face to millions of Americans. One commenter wrote, "She didn't just spit on Trump, she spat on the faces of half the country that supports him. And if you thought the White House was going to let this slide, think again." Karoline Leavitt was absolutely livid over Whoopi's public display of disgust. When it was her turn to respond, she didn't hold back. I've got to give credit where it's due. Karoline knows how to throw a punch, and this time she didn't just toss a casual jab at Whoopi. She absolutely obliterated her. This wasn't some weak dig or throwaway remark. No, it was a precision strike aimed straight at the biggest embarrassment of Whoopi's career. Every word was calculated, each insult delivered with razor-sharp accuracy, and Whoopi had nowhere to hide. Leavitt made it clear that Whoopi's over-the-top antics were nothing but a distraction, completely irrelevant in the—
I watched that stupid View where you have these really dumb people. You know, Whoopi Goldberg said, would you participate in a movie? She made some movie on basketball. This was before I ran for politics. She said, oh, you're so great. If you ever ran for president, you'd win. This is Whoopi Goldberg. You don't hear that? She said, I'm making a movie. Would you be in it? I said, in what capacity? Just a walk-on. You're so great. Would you do I did a walk-on for Whoopi Goldberg. Now she says, I refuse to mention his name. You know what? Politics can do strange things to demented people.
At the end of the day, the American people have already made their decision, and they're standing with Trump. No amount of Hollywood theatrics or mainstream media spin is going to change that. The proof, the ballot box. Despite years of relentless propaganda, despite the elites in their little echo chambers trying to silence any opposition, Trump's support only grew stronger. And just when it looked like Leavitt was finished, she dropped the final hammer. She turned her sights directly on The View, calling out the hosts for their delusions of influence. She didn't just poke fun at them, she wiped the floor with them. Leavitt made it clear, they don't shape public opinion, they don't dictate elections, and most importantly, they're so disconnected from reality, they might as well be broadcasting from another planet. Leavitt didn't just expose their inflated egos, she completely dismantled them piece by piece. And naturally, Trump couldn't resist chiming in, delivering what can only be described as a knockout blow. His response, savage, unfiltered, and absolutely unapologetic. With just one line, he left Whoopi metaphorically sprawled on the floor. Ouch, that stings. But here's the real question. Did Trump cross the line, or was this exactly the reckoning Whoopi had coming all along?
No, I've hired Whoopi to work for me as a comedian before this stuff, and a long time ago. And I went, and, you know, I'm not particularly shy about what I hear. Her mouth was so foul, every word out of her mouth was like the F word, this. I was with a group of people, like sort of nice people, and we had to leave. She was so filthy dirty, disgusting, half the place left. I said I'd never hire her again.
Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because beyond all the insults and the internet firestorm, Trump actually raised some valid points. And whether you love him or hate him, that's the part that really can't be ignored. Now, let's rewind to 1996. The year Whoopi Goldberg placed a big bet on the movie Eddie and lost big time. This wasn't just a flop, it was an all-out box office disaster, shredded by critics and quickly forgotten by audiences. But here's where it gets interesting. Guess who made a cameo in that film? None other than Donald J. Trump. And here's where the hypocrisy meter goes off the charts. Turns out Whoopi didn't just invite Trump to be in the movie, she practically begged him. That's right, the same woman who now can't even utter his name without spitting on the floor was once all about showering him with praise and even encouraged him to run for president. Reports say she thought he'd make a great leader. Fast forward to today, and suddenly the mere mention of his name sends her into full-body meltdown mode. The double standard here is staggering. So let me get this straight. Whoopi was once technically a Trump employee involved in comedy of all things, and that probably explains a lot about why her comedic career never really went anywhere. Let's be real, like she was never
If you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers.
Instead, Whoopi made her name on shock value, the kind of humor that thrives on controversy rather than cleverness. If you've ever watched any of her old material, you know exactly what I mean. Honestly, it's no surprise she'd pull something as disgusting as spitting on live TV. That's just Whoopi being Whoopi, doing whatever it takes to stay in the spotlight, no matter how ridiculous it looks. She's got a long track record of stirring up drama and wallowing in controversy like it's her art form. Let's be real. This isn't about making a statement or standing up for anything. It's all about performative outrage, plain and simple. If there's one thing that defines the woke mob, it's this. They don't debate, they don't argue with facts, they throw tantrums. Think about it. Whoopi once praised Trump. She didn't just invite him to be in her movie, she practically begged him. She even said he'd make a great president. But now, she acts like saying his name is beneath her, like he's some untouchable disgrace. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife. And this is exactly why people are fed up with the Hollywood elite. They flip-flop on their beliefs based on what's trending in their little echo chamber. One day they're your best friend, the next they're acting like they've never met you. They claim to be for the people, but in reality, they're just performing for their own crowd. Let's not overlook the biggest double standard. They're perfectly fine with using violent language, throwing insults, and demonizing anyone who disagrees with them. But the second someone fires back, suddenly it's, oh no, we're under attack.
I think it's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, and to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past but the future.
Karoline Leavitt wasn't having any of it. She didn't hesitate for a second to call out the hypocrisy, making it clear that President Trump isn't here to play games, and he's not about to let his opponents derail him. He has a clear mandate from the American people. While Hollywood elites like Whoopi are busy pandering to the woke crowd, Trump is focused on real issues. One of his first moves, restoring common sense by banning biological men from competing in women's sports and using women's locker rooms. Let's face it, that should have never been up for debate in the first place. But that's just the beginning. Trump is chopping away at wasteful government spending, cutting out useless programs that drain taxpayers' wallets. He understands that if America wants to stay strong, it can't afford to fall apart from within. The bigger picture here is simple. A strong nation isn't just about military might, it's about a stable economy, solid moral values, and fiscal responsibility. While the media is obsessed with Whoopi's latest tantrum, Trump is already putting plans into motion to get America back on track. That means putting Americans first, securing the border, revitalizing the job market, and ensuring the country remains a beacon of strength, not a globalist laughingstock for the elites to mock. And that's exactly why his opponents are freaking out, because when Trump is focused, he gets results. But let's pause for a sec.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Karoline Leavitt wasn't having any of it. She called out the hypocrisy, making it clear Trump isn't here to play games. He has a clear mandate from the American people. While Hollywood elites like Whoopi pander to the woke crowd, Trump is focused on real issues. One of his first moves? Banning biological men from competing in women's sports and using women's locker rooms. That should have never been up for debate, but that's just the beginning. Trump is cutting wasteful government spending, slashing useless programs, draining taxpayers' wallets. He knows that if America wants to stay strong, it can't afford to fall apart from within. A strong nation isn't just about military might, it's about a stable economy, solid moral values, and fiscal responsibility. While the media obsesses over Whoopi's latest tantrum, Trump is already working to get America back on track, putting Americans first, securing the border, revitalizing the job market, and ensuring the country remains a beacon of strength. And that's why his opponents are freaking out. When Trump is focused, he gets results. But let's talk about Whoopi's political judgment. Was Whoopi really pushing Americans to vote for someone who can barely put a coherent sentence together, and a former federal prosecutor who sounds like a walking, talking word salad? Let's be honest, Kamala Harris can talk for hours and still say nothing. Every sentence is a chaotic mess. Circular reasoning, awkward pauses, and that signature cackle trying to distract from the fact she has no clue what she's talking about. Even when she manages to spit out something vaguely coherent, it's the same recycled talking points we've all heard 1,000 times. On the other hand, when Trump or Leavitt speaks, there's no fluff, just straight up action. Whether you agree with them or not, you know exactly where they stand. Kamala? She just stands for whatever sounds good in the moment, and that's exactly why nobody takes her seriously.
Karoline Leavitt is the press secretary at the White House, doing a great job. Such a great job that the ladies of The View feel the green monster coming upon them. They really don't like this woman. She's a good communicator. And so Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt was picked for the role.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Despite full backing from the mainstream press, Kamala Harris still couldn't get her message across. No matter how many glowing headlines or softball interviews came her way, she failed to connect with the American people. Why? Because she came off as fake. Every speech felt forced, every statement robotic and rehearsed. And when she veered off script, disaster. Awkward pauses, strange phrasing, and word salad left viewers more confused than before. But it wasn't just her delivery. That turned voters off. It was her complete lack of conviction. She stood for nothing while pushing policies no one wanted. Her ideas didn't resonate because they weren't based in reality. They were empty slogans meant to please the coastal elite while the rest of America just rolled their eyes. And this is the woman Whoopi Goldberg championed for president. No wonder Karoline Leavitt called her out for being so out of touch. At this point, Whoopi isn't just wrong, she's delusional. It's almost laughable how disconnected these Hollywood elites have become. They prop up failing politicians, push unpopular policies, and act shocked when America rejects them. Maybe that's why they can't stand Trump. No matter how much media spin they throw at him, he still connects with voters. And when they realized Trump was untouchable, they shifted focus to his team. Enter Karoline Leavitt, Whoopi, and The View have been relentless in their attacks on Leavitt, hoping to rattle her, discredit her, or force her to backpedal. But guess what? It's not working. Despite all their attempts to tear her down, Karoline Leavitt has remained unshaken. She's not backing down, not playing the victim, and certainly not letting Hollywood elites dictate how she does her job.
I am obviously acutely aware that my presence at this podium represents a few firsts. I am a Black, gay, immigrant woman, the first of all three of those to hold this position.
How are we? Good to see all of you. It's an honor to be here with all of you. A lot of familiar faces in the room, a lot of new faces. And President Trump is back, and the golden age of America has most definitely begun. The Senate has already confirmed 5 of President Trump's exceptional cabinet nominees.
Karoline Leavitt has kept her focus locked on what truly matters: honesty, transparency, and accountability. That's exactly why Americans are getting behind her. Unlike her predecessor, Karine Jean-Pierre, who fumbled through press briefings, dodged tough questions, and failed to connect with the public, Leavitt is clear, confident, and unapologetic. People respect that in a leader. At the end of the day, Americans aren't looking for rehearsed talking points. They want someone who speaks the truth, stands strong, and won't back down. That's why Leavitt is rising while Whoopi and her Hollywood bubble keep drifting further out of touch with the reality everyday Americans live in. Americans admire leaders who don't hide behind scripts but speak the truth even when it makes the mainstream media squirm. And that's exactly what terrifies the left. They don't just dislike Karoline Leavitt, they fear her. Unlike the spineless bureaucrats they're used to, she pushes back. And here's the kicker, she's winning. There was a side-by-side comparison of Karine Jean-Pierre and Karoline Leavitt's first days on the job, and the difference was night and day. Leavitt is sharp, composed, and all business. No fake virtue signaling, no identity politics, and absolutely no pointless personal stories. She stepped up to the podium, delivered the facts, and handled the press with grace, confidence, and precision. Unlike her predecessor, who spent more time dodging questions than actually answering them, Leavitt took every single one head on. No awkward pauses, no dodging, just clear, direct, and concise responses so sharp Kamala Harris might be taking notes. Leavitt isn't there to pander, she's there to lead. That's why she's earning the respect of Americans who are tired of weak, performative leadership. What's even more impressive is how Leavitt handles the constant barrage from the media without breaking a sweat. She doesn't flinch, she doesn't lash out, she simply dismantles loaded questions with cold, hard facts. No drama, no outrage, just calculated takedowns. It's the kind of composure and strength that makes her critics look desperate while her supporters feel empowered. That's exactly why they're scared of her. No matter how hard they try to break her, she won't fold. With every press briefing, Karoline Leavitt is proving that competence will always crush political theatrics. If this is the future of conservative leadership, the left has plenty to be nervous about. A lot of people can't stand Whoopi Goldberg and The View, and Joe Rogan's definitely one of them. Honestly, who can blame him? The women on The View have become experts at making bizarre, out-of-touch comments that no one outside their elitist bubble can relate to. They act like they represent all women, but their opinions are so disconnected from reality that even their own audience cringes. Let's not even get started on their track record of controversies. Time and time again, they've made reckless statements that landed them in serious hot water. Some have faced lawsuits. Others have had to sit through cringeworthy, corporate-mandated apologies for spreading misinformation on live TV. But do they ever learn? Of course not. Instead, they double down, play the victim, and act shocked when people finally call them out. Maybe that's why their ratings keep sinking. The View isn't about real discussions anymore. It's just elitist groupthink disguised as daytime TV. Enter Megyn Kelly, who completely obliterates every point Whoopi tried to make. What she says next? Pure humiliation. By then, it's not even a debate. It's just a cringe-worthy spectacle. Megyn Kelly nailed it. The hypocrisy on The View is downright sickening. These women will bend over backward to defend Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, no matter how incompetent or disastrous their policies get. But the moment Donald Trump's name comes up, it's instant outrage, exaggerated eye rolls, and ranting. That's exactly what gets Karoline Leavitt fired up. She's not just pissed about their bias, she's calling out their outright dishonesty. These women love to act like they're defenders of democracy and free speech, but the second anyone dares challenge their liberal echo chamber, they go straight into attack mode. Here's the real deal. They're not mad at Trump because he's dangerous. They're mad because he exposes their lies and they can't stand it. They claim they're champions of women's empowerment, but the moment a conservative woman steps up, they do everything they can to tear her down. Instead of debating the actual issues, they go straight for character assassination, calling her too young, too naive, or too uninformed. It's the same tired old playbook they've been running for years, and frankly, it's getting exhausting. If they genuinely believed in empowering strong, independent women, they'd be applauding Leavitt's success. But instead, they're threatened by it. And with that, we're wrapping up today's video. If you liked what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe for more bold, no-nonsense takes. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.